Hello and welcome to the show. Now, Survive the Hunt is a rather complex game mode, especially having to be something done in free mode, and sometimes things do not quite go according to plan. Sometimes there are technical difficulties on my end, and while trying to film Survive the Hunt 15, I had a lot more than usual. Yeah, we had a bunch of problems, mostly technical stuff related on my end to do with audio voice recording not working for whatever reason. Apparently this time I might wanted to play Silly Buggers. So that does give me a bunch of outtakes. Admittedly not with any voice recording I can use, but there's a bunch of outtakes. We could talk over some of the weird goings on because, well, every time you play this game mode, something different happens. We find something else that the game does, the game physics derp in a new and unusual way, and just incredibly lucky, incredibly close escapes and shenanigans will occur. So we're going to take a look through them. Now this, straight from the off of the Survive the Hunt. We got the Gauntlet Classic, and I was wanting to head a slightly different direction. I tend to take the same route into the sea, mostly because I can just cover a lot of ground very quickly and get as far away from the docks as possible. But on this one, I opted to go and try and find a vehicle around this industrial area. However, I made a little bit of a goof. So I was going to try and park my car somewhere out of the way, somewhere that they weren't going to come across the gauntlet particularly easily. I spotted some decent cars around here, thought I'd park up. As I'd already pressed Y to get out of the vehicle, I noticed a garage open up. Thought, oh, that's great, I'll go park my car in here. Little did I know, as I'd stopped, I'd parked next to some gang members who didn't like the fact that I had parked near them and proceeded to shoot me to pieces. Now, because I have no map on, I don't actually know how much health my character has. I don't know how much health I went down to, but judging by the number of bullet holes and the number of sort of blood effects that are going on, I don't think I had much health left. That was nearly the quickest I have ever died in one of these. It was, yeah, pretty brutal. That was all just from, there was a garage I wanted to try and park my car in. I learned not to try that one again. In my haste to get away, I grabbed the first vaguely suitable car, happened to be a Rapid GT, and shot off, then promptly realised that I hadn't actually changed clothes, and my clothes were covered in bullet holes, which is probably not a good thing in terms of blending. And now I did still have a little bit of time at this stage because we were on the 2-minute... we were given the 2-minute head start. Unfortunately, when you go and change clothes, you don't actually remove the bullet holes, you're still full of them. I kind of hoped that they would go over time. Yeah, turns out don't piss off the gangs. I have been chased actually once around that gang area. I was kind of using whatever I had to try and regain maybe some health. I did have body armor on the time, and I think that might have saved my life. Because, yeah, I took quite a few hits. In all of that. And then we're back to try to blend in. Yeah, very, very nearly got myself killed by the gangs. Got to be a little careful. Just general GTA 5 can be dangerous. Now, in this particular round, if you like, I quickly realised that driving a purple Rapid GT probably wasn't the cleverest of ideas. It's quite a distinctive colour. That has got me caught in the past. Driving a car, it's you know, this is naturally an AI spawned vehicle, but if they see a lot of a purple Rapid GT around, you don't see very many of them. You probably remember the colour. So I went to swap cars. I actually went down to the pier, to the big car park there, and literally all they had was supercars and one Hummer. So I guess I was going to be sticking with the faster cars. Anyway, there's a helicopter sort of hovering around, having a little bit of a search. Turns out the Rapid GT might sometimes be left unlocked. Now, I've come across unlocked cars. You come across them from time to time. I don't think I've ever actually come across one of these sort of vehicles, you know, these high-end sports cars, unlocked. I mean, it helped me immensely. We didn't have to break the window. We didn't set off any alarms along the way. It meant the helicopter that was buzzing around wouldn't have seen anything untoward. So, perfect. We ended up swapping into one of these, and everything was all good. Well, we continued on our way. Please note, the good old blimp. Yep, that was doing its sort of just checking along the road. This is an important thing. Note how low the blimp is to the road. There was a hunter driving one of the felons around, having a bit of a look. Yeah, just remember the blimp was playing quite risky. The AI is surprisingly okay the AI is surprisingly okay with the blimp just kind of going. I was expecting more of them to freak out, but no, apparently they don't really care all that much about it. Later on, I continued to sneak around with not much giving. I had an AI car clatter into the side of me, left a lovely great big scratch down the rapid, which meant I needed a new vehicle. I opted to park at this garage, having seen there was a vehicle here. Went to grab the fusillade. Now, there was a helicopter in the distance I could see hovering around. Changing cars is always a risk in Survive the Hunt. It's a very obvious animation. Alarms go off on the fusillade, of course. But yeah, it's a very obvious animation. It takes a little bit of time to do. Even if it's 20 seconds, you'd be amazed how far a Hunter car can travel in 20 seconds. You can have a look around, the coast can be clear. By the time you've nicked the car, a vehicle could come shooting up from a direction somewhere you didn't see. It's always a risk. I figured this was probably one of the safer places that I could change the vehicle. You know, we needed a new car, a vehicle driving around with a great big scratch on the side. As I said before, sometimes damage syncs with other people, sometimes it doesn't, you never know. Yeah, you got to change it basically out of safety. So you got the fusillade, we got on the road, did a little bit of that to just sort of twist the car around so I wasn't pointing at a funny angle. Anything slightly out of place might get searched by a helicopter. You would think everything was going relatively well here. I would say everything was going relatively well here in this one. Remember the blimp? Yeah, that's back. That, as you could see in the background, was continuing to search vehicles. Was searching junctions, seeing if anybody was doing something strange. I think seeing if it could freak out an AI car. Now, remember the Futo. There's a Futo alongside, behind the Mupava on our right. I can see the blimps checking, not doing anything too strange. Helicopters minding its own business. I was going to be tempted to try and sticky bomb the blimp. Didn't need to. No, didn't need to sticky bomb the blimp. Directly above me, the blimp hit one of the telephone poles, I think it was. Certainly, or a tree, something solid. The blimp blew up. It set fire to the Futo. The Futo that had been one car back behind me was set on fire. Now, the helicopters saw the massive explosion and came over to have a look, while I had cars pressing around, and I don't really know if I drove out of there like an AI car. Everyone was so busy laughing at the blimp exploding itself that I kind of managed to sneak away from all of that with very little in the way of trouble. Unfortunately for me, as we drove around, as we continued on our adventures, we wouldn't stay entirely incognito in this one. I think I'd been blowing up a couple of prees, and I had the window down to throw the sticky bomb out, and I was a little bit unlucky in that the driver of the yellow, there was a yellow intruder behind, just happened to notice a vehicle with the window missing, happened to notice that the driver was looking a little bit suspiciously close to me, and of course comes along to have an investigate. And this is one of those tough things. I'd seen the car make a U-turn. When a car makes a U-turn, that's always that's always a sign that they're probably going to be investigating something that they have seen. I don't want to immediately run in case they aren't. When a car pulls in front of you, though, that is a clear sign to go. Unfortunately, because I'd sat there for a while, a helicopter had time to get over to me. It's that gamble you take. The longer you sit there, the more time, if they are onto you, the more time, the more cars they can get around you. But if you bolt immediately, as I used to do in older Survive the Hunts, sometimes you will end up initiating a chase where they just didn't know you were there. It's that fine balancing act. We see it many times. This one didn't quite work out for me. However, by this particular stage of the game, it was actually quite a long way in. So I was trying to get to a pre. I knew there was a pre and a petrol station, which is why I was looping around this particular area. How I ended up almost driving into a whole bunch of people was because there's a petrol station coming up on the right-hand side. I was trying to get to blow up a pre, and I almost drove into all the hunters again. We take the car down here, throw the sticky bomb as we go through there. Behind me, a sentinel followed, was trying not to get blown up. I was trying not to blow up vehicles that were giving chase, but either way, I think I got to 3 prees in this one at this particular stage, and it was getting very, very close to the end of the time. In the end, I won this Survive the Hunt. Voice audio crapped out after 20 minutes into it, and I didn't realise, but I did actually take the victory here. And we also learnt how defensible the incident location is. So after with one, I tried to get here, we ducked into the bin. Turns out, yeah, me armed with an LMG in the bin is quite difficult to shift. Had, in that infamous earlier Survive the Hunt, had they actually found me, had there been a shootout, they would have had fun times. I managed to take out 4 of them with relative ease before eventually some of them respawned and came around the corner and shot me. But yeah, those Brays are running running out the gate. Yeah, if there had been a firefight there, would have been interesting to see. But there would have been more people keep ploughing into the area. Either way, yeah, interesting turn of events. So another one. We had everything going fairly normally from the start. Now, there is a player on the left-hand side driving the green Buffalo over there that was mildly suspicious of my vehicle, not helped by the AI just crashing. Like, it's one of those things. For a little while, I wasn't sure whether the green Buffalo was a person or an AI doing weird shenanigans, but just the AI card decides, you know what, we're going to crash directly into you. That doesn't really help. And again, it's a case of as soon as a person gets out of a car, I'm going to run. Whether they are onto me, whether they're just going to check, it's always going to be worth going for it, because we saw what happened with the helicopter. With the helicopter pilot got out and managed to take me out in one shot. You can get unlucky. It's always a good idea. Now, that particular chase, I ended up managing to get away. I hid somewhere around the docks. Everything was good. They were still frustrated with the blimp. There was a little bit of friendly shenanigans going on. I say friendly shenanigans as, yes, behind me, one of the hunters was taking some pot shots at the blimp while it was hovering over the junction I was at. Yeah, that scared the absolute crap out of me. Occasionally, the hunters mess around a little bit. The blimp is notorious for taking out the helicopters, so they were joking around, and yeah, there was a small bit of friendly rocketing, shall we say, and everyone was trying to, well, I was trying to follow the AIs that were freaking out. They were all trying to run away. I didn't even know how, like, how do you react to the blimp being rocketed as an AI? I don't know. I had absolutely no idea. However, a little while longer, while I actually got away from that, it was the remote control car that spotted my character, actually, while I was sat at a light. It just happened to be going around searching stuff. The only time the RC vehicle has been of particular use. It's got good acceleration and decent grip, but the issue is, it is just not quite fast enough. You know, we go down a small straight and the remote control car is gone. But it did the job scouting wise in this one. It did initiate a chase against me. I also have subsequently learnt the Oracle is not the best getaway car. In a pinch it'll work. It's better than quite a lot. However, yeah, it won't be my first choice of getaway vehicle. It does struggle against some of the vehicles the hunters might end up using. We can see all the flashing lights going on in the background. We did manage to get a decent distance away, and trying to lose the helicopters, I got myself in a little bit of trouble though around the hills area, and I learnt out how painful the fire engine can be if it manages to T-bone you nicely. Now, I get insanely lucky here. I know I have to keep going because someone was going to be getting out of their car. I managed to unintentionally reverse my way around some buildings, throw a quick J-turn, was convinced there was going to be a dead end somewhere and I was going to have to bail and run on foot. Amazingly, there wasn't. I had no idea where that particular bit of map went. I had no idea where it was. It's just, if I keep moving, that's the best bet for me, and somehow we came out of all of that. I did actually manage to just about get far enough ahead from the cars. You can see my vehicle was quite battered by all of this, and in trying to shake helicopters and in trying to stay lost, if you like, bailed into a car park. It was an issue. The car park I'd bailed into hadn't spawned anything for me to try and grab to drive out of, and I then jumped up some, well, I went into the kind of the most secluded area. Problem was, one of the hunters that was following me needed a new car as well. They not long after I'd got in here, they came into the car park, and that gave me a very, very iffy predicament. I couldn't go on the roof, because a helicopter around would see me on the roof. Staying in the stairway was kind of a strong strategy. I could kind of cover the area, but I was a little bit worried somebody was going to be able to see me from outside. I think that shadow suggests somebody jumped off the roof. That looks like a car probably jumped off the roof. But yeah, they saw my car, and I could see that there were people coming in on foot. And yes, I have firepower advantage in this particular situation. We do have better weaponry, but you don't want to be going up against such a large number of people. It was, yeah, well, it was an awkward one. I want to try and get out of the car park. Honestly, I want to be in a vehicle. I guess I could have perhaps gone and ran and grabbed my Oracle and then tried to drive out, but there's also a lot of people on foot, which means they're going to be taking pot shots. They're going to be trying to shoot out tyres. Even if they don't kill me, they might shoot out some tyres. I was a smidge worried about the fire engine using the hose, because that was firing a hose up at the car park. I think it was just kind of like speculative to see if it could knock me over perhaps and cause some chaos. That's why I ended up moving around. We found one of them that walked in. I had a cursory look, just hoping that something had spawned, hoping that something I'd missed. Kind of went up onto the roof, but they didn't really want to stick their head out on there. And that then gave me the issue of where the hell do we go from here, because they were going to be starting to surround me. I didn't want to get sort of pincer manoeuvred on the stairs, hence why I now started moving, knowing there was nobody above me. I did have power of the shotgun. Unfortunately, I came around the corner, and the GTA combat can be a little funky. Apparently, one smack with a gun, and that's it. 3 shotgun shells and you live. But actually, somebody came running down the stairs, so I was going to be in a little bit of trouble either way. I went in that one. Yeah, I died with a few hours remaining in that. Again, was a fun survive the hunt. Unfortunately, again, more audio issues. So we head next. Our next outing. Everything went fairly normal to start with. I once again found myself with an Oracle. AI police car shenanigans was afoot in this. Now, I think there was a hunter vehicle you saw, I think it was like a blue Oracle, Buffalo or something, went shooting off down into the distance, and AI police were certainly pissed off with somebody. As we come out of the tunnel, there is all sorts of chaos going on here. I mean, there is mayhem. I don't know what set this off. I don't know what the hunters were doing to anger the police as much and cause all of this chaos. I didn't want to drive through it. The reason being is if a hunter calls Leicester to remove the wanted level, there are police out and about with nothing to do, they might see me driving a stolen car and then give me a wanted level, and then I have to start worrying about running away. It's not really ideal, so instead I did a U-turn in the hope that there was nobody around. I'd hoped if there was a hunter in the area, they'd be too preoccupied dealing with the police. Also, it might not be too unusual for an AI car to freak out at that situation with so much going on. There was a hunter car come flying along. We see the vehicle with no headlights along the motorway. I actually take quite a goofy turn off of the motorway. Looking back at it now, I probably shouldn't have done that. I kind of cut across 2 lanes quite quickly, and that's generally a giveaway that it's a person. AI kind of go lane at a time. I think that car that was on the motorway was being chased by the police, because there was another police car ahead of me that just buggered off into the distance. So, yeah, shenanigans. Shenanigans was afoot, and it continued to be afoot while my Oracle was on the most part okay. First of all, hunter car driving through traffic just squeezes through the middle of everybody. Fair enough. I then realised my character's doing a little dance, frantically turned off the radio, as another hunter vehicle driving one of the stockades ploughs into the line of cars alongside me. Now that made a choice. That made it could have picked either of the later cars. Normally sat in traffic is a fairly safe bet because there's so many cars to check. However, yeah, ploughing into it with the stockade, fairly good way to check. Thankfully for me, it just smacked the other lane of cars. There was a chopper around in this particular area as well, and I was just having to try and blend in as best I could. I guess the plus point with the stockade causing chaos is any damage on the vehicle, well, like this rancher thing that's alongside us. Is it called that? I can't remember. Either way, that has damage on the back of it, but they know they crashed into cars. So I actually didn't end up getting any damage at all on my Oracle, so I kept using the same car. And it was this particular attempt to survive the hunt is where I started trying the playing dead technique. So we continue on. We're driving around, and quite a lot of time, as you can see by the time the day had passed, when I end up here searching for some prees, and think nothing of, hunter cars around, it happens. The yellow Buffalo just misjudges where the traffic is, plows into the side of me, spins around, sees me trying my best to pretend to be a dead AI, and it just drives off. Completely leaves me. The first attempt at playing dead was actually a resounding success. Unfortunately for me, in terms of my car had been dinged. It wasn't a big crash. As you can see, I was spinning the camera around trying to sort of inspect the damage as best I could. There wasn't massive damage on the car. AI's doing a weird U-turn. You see why my U-turn on the motorway isn't the strangest thing? Because either way, AIs do AI things. Either way, I knew I needed a new car. with my... While there wasn't massive scratches, the bonnet was slightly pinged up. As you can see from that angle there, much better. And as we talked about before, the damage shows up differently sometimes on different people. You never know whether it's going to show up a huge crunch on my car for them. So I knew I needed a new car, but I also knew there were hunters around this area. Me getting out of the car to go and steal something immediately was risky. I'd seen the buffalo was in the area. I'd seen the stockade was still driving around, so I didn't really want to go do anything too crazy straight away. Again, as I said, it's a tough balancing act between swapping cars and how much you're going to leave yourself exposed. As I went around the next corner, the driver of the yellow buffalo had abandoned it. I guess they'd swapped into something else, but left it in the middle of the road, and all sort of hell broke loose with me and the AI. We get pinged by the Serrano, I think, who's trying to figure out what way to park. Police have turned up. I presume the hunter, the driver of the yellow buffalo, was wanted by police, because that would explain why the police cars had stopped over here and they're now on foot trying to look for a person who I presume was trying to swap a vehicle. Another police car comes herring along, slams on the brakes, almost crashes into the side of me. I'm panicking now, trying to call Lester to have cops turn a blind eye, because assuming the hunter is going to also call Lester and remove wanted levels, which they do because the police go back to their normal patterns, if I hadn't had cops turn a blind eye, they would have probably lost the person they were looking for and then immediately seen me in a stolen car. So I actually played that one quite close. I played that one quite lucky. A frantic call to Lester got us out of trouble. And I did then also notice there was a pre over here, but this is a dangerous one because the area was swarming with hunters. You also get to witness the hunters spotted a pink pre and decided that said pink pre should be punished for being there. They crashed into one of the cars. Now I'm sat at the junction patiently waiting to make my turn. I got a couple of minutes before the police turning a blind eye will go away, so I have enough time to not have to worry too much about this. We go to set off as one of the hunters, I say not paying attention, they're the same two as the buffalo and the felon, were just praying around in the area, clatter into the back of me. We spin it around and carry on. Again, it's trying to act like an AI car, and they weren't paying any attention whatsoever. I have to try to get a sticky bomb. Now, I knew this was a high-risk sticky bomb over here. This was a really, really big, risky sticky bomb moment because there were a lot of hunter cars around the area. I leave it as late as I dare. On that one, we head around the corner, and lo and behold, there's a lot of vehicles. We get hit by a truck. And this is where I try my best to pretend that I am an AI car. We'd seen it work with the buffalo. I was really desperate to try and make it work here, and it almost was. It almost was. The felon sort of had a look, thought, no, that's just an AI that's being killed by the crash. In the end, it was the helicopter that was most insistent that it had been me. I think the helicopter might have seen me kind of shoot away a little bit from the explosion. Again, person gets out of car, we bolt, we do a J-turn, then the chase is back on for good. It very, very nearly worked. If there had been less, unfortunately, it was much like the actual Survival Hunt 15. It was that case of so many cars in one place that I could trick a couple of them, but somebody was always a little bit more, I say, thoughtful. Yeah, somebody just happened to pay a bit of attention, and I was back to racing around with an Oracle. Now we saw how painful the T-bone had been when we got hit by a fire engine. Pretty devastating. They had that stockade, let's not forget, and while I was trying my best, I'd actually got a decent gap to the cars behind. The problem was the helicopters, as it always is, trying to find a way to shake that chopper. I was starting to pull away from it, but it was still proving difficult, and as it was trying to guide cars back into the chase, stockade suddenly from the left. It's a big hit. Now I get very lucky. We actually bounce off the roof of a green buffalo, and the buffalo stops a hunter car from being able to clatter into the side of me. Basically, it couldn't pin me. I saw the stockade behind and figured my best bet to try and shake it would be go through, well, I say a narrow alleyway. I don't know if the stockade actually did get stuck in there. Helpfully, in this particular chase, stockade, I can see in the background, certainly did get out, but lost a little time. Stevie crashed a helicopter. The helicopter went down while giving chase. I'm not sure. There was one that was blimp related. I'm not sure if it was that one that was blimp related. But yeah, I was having a tough time here. There was a bit of a murder ball going on in the corner. I'm trying to spin myself clear of all of this traffic as much as I can. No one wants to get out of their car too soon, because if I do get free, I get away. They could also quite easily get run over by cars ploughing into the mix. I get lucky, we pinball around, I manage to get my car free, we keep it moving just about far enough that we can get it out of trouble, and we managed to bolt off into the distance. I actually then get quite lucky in this chase in general. With the helicopter down, only two cars were kind of close at this stage. A little bit of trickery, and I did manage to lose the vehicles. We swapped car, we changed into a Buffalo in this one. It was a fairly normal, fairly straightforward chase, if you like, after the helicopter was down. So we're driving a Buffalo, minding our own business, trying to get some prees, and shenanigans at a junction, anybody? AI trucks? I wasn't even paying any attention to what was going on until the AI trucks crashed face first into one another. I don't know, one of the drivers gets out and just leaves the truck in the middle of the road. And this is the sort of crap that gets you in trouble in these games. Is AI do something stupid if there had been a helicopter around to watch. It doesn't matter that I had nothing to do with the stupidness that was going on, but weirdness occurred, helicopter would come over and have an investigate. And then it might notice me doing something stupid, or an AI car trying to overtake me at a junction, or a set of lights, and all of that kind of nonsense. Yeah. Thankfully, in that particular one, there was nobody around to witness. Sadly, this particular Survive the Hunt went downhill a bit towards the end. So I'd had a crash, something had hit the back of me, I can't remember what, something hit the back of the Buffalo. I say I wasn't too fussed, there wasn't... Yeah, I couldn't be bothered to swap my car, basically, at this stage. It wasn't the biggest dent. I thought we might get away with it. I knew where there was a pre up ahead. I'd seen there was a pre parked by a different petrol station. Knew there was an opportunity to try and get an explosion on this one. We could call the cops, have the cops turn a blind eye. There wasn't actually that. I hadn't seen any vehicles really around at this stage. Thought I was relatively safe. Unfortunately, one of the hunters had gone AFK for a few months. I think went to the loo, actually, and left his character by the pre. As he came back, he was at the right place to be camping the pre that I happened to be going to explode. Now, they're not supposed to camp the pre's, they never are, and I don't think he was quite aware that was supposed to be a rule. He's actually by that line of parked cars. The sillier thing is what happened to my vehicle. So, Hordes exploded my car with a pistol in 2 shots. Now, this is a very, very rare occurrence. We've only ever had it happen in Survive the Hunt, but petrol tanks can, if hit just right, explode on cars. And that is what we believe happened. In general, I don't like a Survive the Hunt. I don't like the Survive the Hunt that ends with that sort of a death, shall we say. There's nothing I could do. By the time I'd realised a shot had come in, my car had blown up, pretty much. It's one of those quirks of the GTA 5 physics engine that GTA 5 physics, where the game works, that sort of thing can go on. Just very, very unfortunate. Had been a really, really good hunt, just a very, very unsatisfying ending in that one. The fun of this game mode. Yeah, between technical difficulties and freak gas tank explosions, GTA 5 can be a pain in the arse. But I was happy with Survive the Hunt 15 in the end. Even if it didn't quite go out to plan, you can see kind of the theories, the workings behind the Playing Dead. It almost panned out, just not quite in the end. But there we go. That is a look at some of the outtakes, some of the shenanigans that went on to try and make a Survive the Hunt an exciting, a good Survive the Hunt video. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.